I'm Morgan, and today I will be reading Chapter 7 of Charity's Chosen by Ruby M. Ayres. Chapter 7. Charity was petrified to learn that Myrtle's marriage would take place almost immediately. "But you've only been engaged a day or two," she gasped. "Whatever is the hurry?" Myrtle shrugged her shoulders. "The hurry is chiefly Mother's," she admitted. "She doesn't believe in playing a fish too long. She believes in landing him right away." "I don't understand what you are talking about," Charity said bluntly, "but it will be lovely to have a wedding in the house. Shall you wear a real veil and orange blossom?" "All complete," Myrtle said cynically, "all complete, together with an archdeacon to marry us, Richard's uncle, and the voice that breathed o'er Eden, to make sure there is no mistake about it." Charity looked at her curiously. "Aren't you excited?" she demanded. Myrtle shook her head. "No, why should I be?" "I should be mad with joy if it was me," Charity said. The two girls looked at one another silently, and then Charity asked earnestly, "Myrtle, do you love him?" A pitiful look flashed into Myrtle's eyes, and she answered with wary scorn, "Mother says that any girl would be mad not to love a man with as much money as Richard has." "And do you love him?" Charity insisted. "I'm going to marry him anyway," was the only answer she received. Mrs. Atfield was in her element, making arrangements for the wedding. It was to be one of the great events of the season. She was determined, and she wore herself and everyone else to shreds long before the day arrived. Charity kept out of the fuss and excitement. She had nearly finished her work in the library, only leaving it now and then when her aunt dragged her off to see some fresh present that had arrived. Your friends must be very rich," Charity said once wistfully. She had never seen such things in her life. The jewelry made her gasp. A sable coat which Pelham had given to his future wife sent her into raptures. "To be yours, your very own?" she said to Myrtle. "It will wear out. It's not so very wonderful," Myrtle answered indifferently. "Everything wears out," Charity reminded her. Myrtle laughed. "I know one thing that doesn't," she said. "Do you?" Charity was interested. "What is it?" she inquired. "Real love," said Myrtle. "Oh!" Charity felt the tears welling to her eyes. She thought Myrtle's voice saying those words was the saddest thing she had ever heard. Impulsively, she put her arms round her. "Why do you marry him if you don't want to?" she asked with passionate eagerness. Myrtle pushed her away. "Don't be stupid. What can I do? Do you want me to send back my 400-pound ring and the sable coat and all the other things you've raved about?" "I do, if you're not happy," Charity said stoutly. For an instant, Myrtle seemed to waver. Then she laughed. "And Mother would murder me," she said with forced lightness. "No, we're talking nonsense. Besides, everyone says I'm the luckiest girl in London." "That's because they don't understand," Charity answered. She tried no more arguments, but her heart ached for her cousin. If she really loved Heather, and of course she must do, for how could any woman help loving him? How great must be her dread of this coming wedding? Charity could only vaguely imagine. "Does Mr. Heather know about all this?" she asked Harvey one day, finding him examining his sister's wedding presents, which were stacked in the morning room. He looked at her and laughed. "Good Lord, how do I know?" "He's your friend," said Charity, "and she's your sister, and it's your place to tell him." "You mind your own business," Harvey said rudely, "and don't you meddle with things that don't concern you." "Perhaps it concerns me more than you think," Charity answered. Harvey turned round and stared at her. "I thought you wanted him yourself," he said with a vicious note in his voice. "I've got a very distinct recollection of you telling me that you'd marry him any old time he asked you. Or weren't you going to wait to be asked?" For a moment they looked at one another with furious eyes. Then Charity lifted her hand and sharply boxed his ears. "If I were a man, I'd thrash you," she panted, her eyes flashing, her breath coming fast. Then she turned and ran from the room. Harvey looked after her speechlessly. His face was crimson, and his lips trembled with rage. "All right, my lady," he muttered. "I'll pay you out for this. I'll pay you out." And that is the end of Chapter 7 of Charity's Chosen by Ruby M. Ayres. Thank you for listening to this chapter with me, and I hope you join me soon for the next one. Bye!